Data throws Yar across the jungle there, and I'm like, man, did he just break every bone in her body, because he just throws her really hard across?
I blinked at that moment, and I was like, what just happened there? All you see is like Yar flying through the air, and then Data flying after her.
I was like, he could just like held his body over her to protect her. You know, he's a robot or whatever. But no, he just like throws her.
Hi, and welcome to our reviews of Star Trek The Next Generation. I'm joined once again by the Nerdiest Prime crew. Alan from Halifax.
Hello.
Namir from Toronto.
Hello.
And I'm Lucas, and I'm in Los Angeles. And this week, we are reviewing episode 21 of season 1 of The Next Generation, Arsenal of Freedom.
Star Trek The Next Generation, The Arsenal of Freedom. The Enterprise is tasked with investigating the fate of the missing USS Drake, which was investigating the planet Minos. When they arrive, they are greeted by a sales pitch for some heavy artillery, which the crew learn was so powerful that it destroyed their creators. Probably should have looked into some gun control laws before going extinct, but now everything is set to automatic, and the weapons systems decide to show themselves off to the Enterprise by attacking the away team on the surface and the ship in orbit. The away team finds itself hunted by some swimming pool chlorine floaters, with the aim of blind stormtroopers chasing them through a sparsely decorated soundstage that poorly represents a dense alien jungle. This goes on for most of the episode, while elsewhere, Picard and Crusher have fallen into a hole on the planet, and the Doctor has hurt her leg and is losing a lot of blood. Picard does the old tell me some of your character backstory while trying to keep her awake and have her guide him through treating her with natural medicine, like those methods are interchangeable from Earth-based herbal medicine to an alien planet a zillion light years away. Meanwhile, on the Enterprise, Geordi is in command while under attack by one of the pool floaters and is finding it hard to destroy because it's so small and quick, so he decides to reuse some stock footage from Encounter at Farpoint and separate the saucer and lure the alien drone into the planet's atmosphere to destroy it. On the surface, or rather below the surface, Picard learns that they conveniently fell right next to the control panel for all those pool floater attack drones, and when the alien salesman pops up, he asks them if they are impressed with the product demonstration, and Picard asks him to turn it off. The salesman really wants to make a sale, so Picard has to agree to buy their faulty merchandise in order for him to turn it off. And then the peril ends for everyone, and they are free to leave the planet. The end.
What did you guys think about this episode? Let's start with Alan.
I think this is contrary to you in the past, but I actually really like this episode. And I think it's one of maybe the high points of season 1. But everybody's like looking at me like, what? But I'm like, no, it's action packed, and it's fast paced, and we have some good character moments, and there's some good effects in there, and I like the story. Actually, yeah, I really like this one.
So I remember really hating this episode, like with a passion, and then I watched it today, and I was like, oh, this is pretty good. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what happened between 12 to 14-year-old me and my age now me, but it's not a bad episode. I actually kind of like it.
I similarly rewatched this episode. I've never liked this episode. The last time I was at this episode, I wasn't 14 years old. I was 45. But
older.
and I liked it. I really enjoyed the episode. I was surprised. And the things I didn't like about them, I realized were things that I realized I didn't like in the past were more like aesthetic considerations. Like the sky in the episode really bothers me. The little drones really bother me. You know, like or there's just the color of the planet bothers me. You know, stuff like that. But then I realized it's just like a visceral reaction to the aesthetics of the episode. But the episode itself is quite good. And doesn't fall into most of the pitfalls that season 1 falls into. Okay, so what do you guys think about the premise of the episode? Let's start with Al.
Yeah, I like the premise of this episode. I think it's just a good science fiction idea. I like when they get to a weird planet of the week that has some strange quirk, and in this case, they basically have stumbled upon a giant showroom for a sales department. In this case, weaponry. So I thought that was kind of fun, and yeah, so I thought it was a good setup for an exciting action adventure hour.
I was just, how come there are no cities? That's what I didn't understand.
Well, I think they were. They just ended up because they beamed down to the showroom, right? The salesman was like, "Beam down to my location," and then so they did. But you assume that there were cities around.
Yeah, maybe they're basically on a firing range.
I see. Yeah.
Military base.
Yeah. So I think it is the whole planet. The implication was that the weapon system, what is it, Alpha Echo Papa whatever, destroyed the whole planet. And then I was like, you're right. Why didn't they just do the thing that Picard did? But I think maybe it was because they were selling it to themselves, right? They're like, okay, I'll buy it. And then the system was like, you can't buy it. You own it. So that's the only thing that I can think of. Like maybe they could only sell it to another planet.
Yeah, well, my impression is what happened was that they never sold it. They built the thing because they built this new thing that they were gonna sell, and then before they were able to sell it, the thing got on the first test or the first demonstration or whatever. It just went crazy and killed everybody, which is pretty horrible to think about. Which almost gives it like a horror movie kind of thing. It's like Alien. It's like if they beam down to a planet with all these xenomorphs, but instead of a xenomorph, it's like a spray tan bottle or whatever they used for it.
Shampoo bottle and pantyhose, apparently.
Yes, pantyhose container and a shampoo.
Yeah, but you do have to ask the question, like, why didn't they just pull the plug, or find the guy with the key, and then turn it to the off position? It's kind of, I don't know, seems irresponsible.
Alien technology.
I guess if it's that smart, maybe it just figured out how to not be turned off. It's kind of an interesting premise for sure, because a lot of possibilities.
I guess if it was programmed only to respond to a sale, then unless somebody on the planet had tried that, then if they were trying to turn off its shields and hack into it or whatever, it would have taken all those things as an attack and just killed everybody basically.
Yeah, or maybe they're just not that bright on the planet. They're just they're not a smart race. So they're like the Forrest Gump of the galaxy.
So I mean, my first thought as I was watching the episode is there were two things. I mean, I liked the setup. I thought it was very ominous. I love when they go to a planet that's post-apocalyptic, or there's a mystery, there's no people, and then they go to find out. But I think they had a lot of information going in, and I remember not remembering that. And I goes, oh, they actually know that I think they know that they're arms merchants, and they know that there's something down there that could kill them. But then they go down anyways. And I go, well, why are they going down? There's no life forms. There's no crashed ship. There's no nothing. So I'm not really clear as to why they go down and put themselves at risk. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I think they have a responsibility to find out what happened to the Drake, right? And so they know it went there. Yeah, they know it went there. They know it disappeared. So they have to find answers. And there's no, wreckage in orbit. So they're like, well, we have to check out the planet.
So what happened to the Drake?
Unclear.
Yeah. Captain Rice is dead. I know. But I think what happened to the Drake was what was happening to the Enterprise, right? Like the weapon system got activated, and then their little probe thing in space destroyed the Drake.
The Drake sounds really shitty anyway because he says his max warp is like warp 3, so
Yeah, exactly.
it's probably like a crappy like freighter.
Yeah. They tried to run away. They just weren't fast enough.
Yeah, basically taking it one shot.
Yeah, exactly. It's good riddance. It's bringing the whole fleet down.
How many are with you?
There are 2 others. Where's the Drake? Where's your crew?
Tell me about your ship, Riker. It's the Enterprise, isn't it?
No, the name of my ship is the Lollipop.
Our top speed is warp 3. What's yours?
Well, my thought was that the reason that was actually not the maximum warp of that vessel. It was just the little decoy, the little Captain Rice decoy. That's all the information it had. It was just saying whatever. It didn't actually know. I don't know.
Maybe that was the max warp of the good ship Lollipop and not the rest of the fleet.
Well, so what do you guys think of that scene where Rice shows up? Hologram Rice shows up.
I like that. It was kind of creepy. Like he had Marco Rodriguez played him like a really creepy vibe. Like you knew, like if I was Riker, I would never be convinced that this was my friend. Like if Lucas came up to me and said, "Alan, tell me all the security information of your household," I'd be like, "What?"
He wouldn't
Why are
even
you
say
talking
Alan.
like that?
He would be like,
"Oh yes, it'd be-
O'Neill, tell me all of this information right now. How fast does your house move? Warp 2, 3?
Where are all your money and valuables?" Like what?
How much money do you possess currently?
Bank account.
Like yeah,
please.
he was a terrible decoy, but he still had very like creepy like T-1000 type, like there's just something off-putting about him that makes you uneasy.
Yeah, and I remember that actor. And I've seen him in other things. I don't know what I've seen him in, but he always seems creepy in everything he's in.
Oh yeah, he's in lots of stuff. Yeah.
No, where he's not creepy is he's in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and he's really good at that. He plays. He plays the actor who plays the bartender in the TV show that they're in.
Oh, I don't remember him.
He's like, "Poppy,
Line, go fetch her and tell her what?
bring your daughter out here and sing her little heart out." And then he's like the one selling the beans.
I have to watch that again. It was a long movie. That didn't go anywhere.
Well, the problem is that you need to watch it more times. You need to watch it at least 10 or 11 times.
Okay.
Well, that's
Before I can appreciate it.
No, you can appreciate it after like 2 or 3 times. I saw it.
Yeah,
I saw it 11 times in the theater the first year it came out.
Oh my god. The ending always throws me. I was like, that's not what happened. What's going on? What is this nonsense?
Commander, our communications are being monitored.
By whom?
Since there is no intelligent life, the question is by what?
Do you ever notice that when we talk about episodes that we all like and agree on, we really don't have anything to talk about? We end up talking about everything else.
Okay, let's get back on track here. Okay, what do you guys think about the sets?
The sets.
It looks like they ran out of prop dressing, or sorry, set dressing.
The sky is so blue, it kind of makes me wonder if the sky was supposed to be like a blue screen and then they ran out of money or time and they're like, it's good enough. Sky's blue. But it's like a deep, like chroma key blue, you know?
Yeah, they could totally do something when they remastered it on Blu-ray, put in like some clouds or a different.
I'm gonna do that for our review. I'm gonna find one shot and I'm gonna put something back there. It should be really easy to do.
But yeah, it just It seems at times it's the most sparsely vegetated jungle ever, and then sometimes it's like really lush. I'm like, oh, they didn't have enough fake plants to put in this corner of the set, but they had plenty for this side. It is a very odd set, but I like it because it just has a different feel to everything else we've seen so far. You know, where you just get some styrofoam rocks and
I get this planet.
Background.
I get this planet mixed up with the planet from Shades of Grey. They look like, to me, those are the same planet.
No, Shades of Grey was pretty sparse, right? Wasn't it mostly rocky?
Shades of Grey was like one corner of a set, you know, where they just sat there and there's like some water and a piece of wood.
Yeah, maybe it's like the color scheme is kind of similar. It's kind of like a blue, orangey. I don't know.
Well,
I had to laugh too. It also made some of the action kind of ridiculous because you started wondering if these drones were like programmed by like Imperial stormtroopers because they couldn't hit jack shit and there was like hardly anything to hide behind because they're just like Yar and Data. They're like way out in the open and they always miss. They sneak up on them every time and they miss every time. I'm like, wow, this is not a very good weapon system.
Well, just imagine millions of them instead of just one.
It was designed. It was designed by Forrest Gump. That's what Namir said. It's designed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally, exactly.
Well, and I noticed that too. But those are the kinds of details I try not to get on, like, because you kind of have to buy into those parts of the episode to like enjoy the episode. You're like, okay, this thing's a dangerous weapon, even though it keeps missing. And it just made me think that, often we're talking about season 1 and I'm being pretty critical and making fun of it. But I enjoy season 1 a lot. I want to just put it on the record that I enjoy season 1 a lot. And I enjoy it as in terms of rewatches more than later Next Generation. Even though it's undeniably a better show, it doesn't have as much rewatch value because it's kind of middle of the road. It's like there's nothing wrong with it. It's kind of like they got on the ship. Everything's like perfect. There's no inconsistencies. There's nothing to like bump against. There's nothing to like think about really.
Yeah.
And
there's nothing new, right? Like the first season, they're just trying new things. Characters are doing brand new things. So it's much more engaging, But you're right. Like by later on in the seasons, it gets a little boring. Like I remember the first season episodes really clearly, like a lot of them, but I don't really remember a lot of the later season episodes. And I've watched them all, except for like the more famous ones. But the other 70 or whatever, I don't remember. There's so many and they don't really stick out.
Well, and what I think about is I have no idea. I have no idea what I was going to say.
Good point.
Yeah. Wow. Really insightful. So that's the keen Lucas mind that we all come back for.
I thought the jungle set looked really fake, but I really like the underground set where Picard and Crusher fall down. That's a really cool set. It has like that, like that hole in the ceiling, and it was like a shaft of light, and then it's like a command center that's been like overgrown with with vines and all that sort of stuff. By the way, I was reading that the sawdust or the dirt or whatever that Dr. Crusher fell into, it was infested with fleas, and so it was like biting them. It was biting them the whole time. I was like, if that was me, I'd be like, I am not working on the set until you get rid of the fleas. I'm not.
Yeah.
I know.
Maybe you get away with that nowadays. Back then, it'd be like, you work or you're done.
That was just crazy to me.
Stand by. I'm coming down.
You, sir?
Yes. Dr. Crusher, this is the captain. Meet me in transporter room 3. Mr. LaForge, you have command of the bridge.
Aye, sir.
Captain, I take great exception to your decision to beam down.
Noted.
So I don't understand, why does Picard go down to the planet? It doesn't make any sense that he goes down.
Yeah.
And the worst thing is he brings Crusher down too. Like,
well, the thing is, I think that was just a big setup to build upon their relationship, and kind of put it on a romance trajectory, and then they didn't do anything with it. But I think there was some behind the scenes stuff where they wanted to make them have some romantic moments, maybe when they're like Crusher's near death or whatever. But Roddenberry didn't want that to happen. But
I always thought that this was the episode where they started that thing where Beverly says, "Oh, if we don't get out of this, I want you just to know, ... and then she gets interrupted, because that happened a bunch of times in season 3, or later on. But I thought it was the first time that it happened was in this episode, but I don't remember during my rewatch. I don't remember seeing that. Do you guys remember?
There's nothing to lead them towards a romantic relationship in this episode.
Yeah, but the weird thing is, I've always felt that at this point they've already kind of had a romantic relationship, because you kind of get that impression from, what is that, the Long Goodbye?
Yes.
Oh yeah, well yeah, they had the moments in that one, and
the big goodbye
when they were drunk.
Yeah, exactly. So I like that they didn't really talk about that, because I always felt that they had something going on already, and to kind of be like, oh, Jean-Luc, I've always wanted to tell you that I have feelings for you, and Picard should have been like, yeah, I know, you told me last night in my room, that kind of thing, like. So I'm glad they didn't really sort of approach it in that way. It would have been a little bit cheesy. But this felt a little bit more natural.
You know what? The only thing that's really missing in this episode, I feel, is a love triangle.
Yeah. Between Picard, Crusher, and the salesman.
Yar.
The salesman.
And
the salesman. Yeah. Well, he's the other one down there.
Exactly.
I'm making fun of Namir because we had a. Well, it's funny because the conversation that I'm referring to is a conversation that we had in your mind, Namir, like 6 months ago. But for me, it's super fresh because I just edited that episode and watched it like 3 times like last week. So it's so funny. I just thought about that. Like you probably even know what I'm talking about.
Namir hates love triangles.
I do. I hate love in any shape whatsoever. Triangle,
any
square. Yeah. So basically in Strange New Worlds, there's a love triangle between Spock, Nurse Chapel, and T'Pring, and it's come up in at least 3 episodes of that show, and it drives me crazy because it's a major part of that show, and it's such a crutch.
Red alert! Battle stations! We can't beam the away team up with our shields in place.
Target has disappeared.
Give me a full scan.
Scanning.
Geordi in command.
Oh, love it. Yep.
Alan, let's hear from you. Geordi in command.
Oh yeah, I love that too. Like I feel like that played really well. It was good. It was a good arc for Geordi. I'm surprised this is the last time I believe we see him in the command chair, or the captain's seat, or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, he just crushed it as captain, and I like that he didn't back down. I always think this is the episode 2 with Leland T. Lynch, and it ends up being Logan.
I get Leland T. Lynch and Chief Engineer Logan mixed up all the time. I know.
I was like, oh, this is going to be the episode of that douchebag on the. Here it comes. Like, oh, this is my long ass name, and I think you should do what I say.
What episode is Leland T. Lynch in?
It's Skin of Evil.
Okay. It's coming up. That's in 2 weeks, guys.
It's coming up though. Yeah, we'll get a full dose of douchebag once we get to that episode.
Namir, Chief Engineer Logan.
Well, yeah. I mean, he comes across as super douchey, which is great. But my favorite part of that whole storyline, I love Geordi in command. I think he does a great job. But then, he does that thing where they try that plan and it fails, and then he's like, Chief Logan to the bridge immediately, and then you're watching, you're like, oh no, he's gonna relinquish command to Logan. And then they cut, and then he comes up, And then he totally does the opposite. That's my favorite. And Logan's like, "What? You're not gonna give it to me?" And Jordy's like, "No, get off the bridge." You know, it was amazing. They're just like they played that so perfectly. They just knew what their audience wanted, and they like reversed it and then brought it back. It's just so good.
I like that they're really good at casting douchebags. You had Kaczynski, and then you had Remick 2 weeks ago, and then this episode you have Chief Engineer Logan, and that actor is amazing at being that guy. I wanted to punch that guy so much.
Yeah. He's so good at it that you kind of think that he's probably like that in real life. Like, he's probably not acting. That's just who he is, you know.
Prepare to initiate separation sequence.
All decks report ready.
On my mark. Now.
Saucer separation. Let's start with Namir, because let's just change it up.
I like that they did it. I mean, I wish that they had separated the saucer, more often. But it kind of makes sense, right? Like, I think we talked about this a long time ago, but, we probably talked about this during the first episode where you've got a bunch of families and kids and non-essential personnel, but you're taking them into battle, which doesn't make a whole ton of sense. So, separating the saucer is great. It's super dramatic. They're like, we're going to the battle bridge, and then everybody goes to the battle. The lights are dark, and, it's great. You're like, oh, something's going to happen. They go to the battle bridge. This is really serious. But if I recall, they stopped kind of doing that in later seasons.
Well, this is the second of 3 times that they separate the saucer in the during the TV series, and then they separated it one last time in Star Trek Generations. So you're right; it doesn't happen very often. This is the only episode. This is the only time that it's kind of random. Like it's,
Yeah, well, I mean, it makes sense, anytime that they go into battle where there could be casualties or severe damage, and there's an unknown factor to it that they should separate. But the fact that they don't do it, they only do it one more time in like 6 years. It just makes the whole thing seem kind of like, why have it if you're not going to use it, sort of thing. And I'm like, you got the footage. I don't mind stock footage. You could reuse it. It's fine. But there's so many other times where they encounter hostile forces and they just do not separate. Like, how many times did they take the Enterprise to the edge of the neutral zone in a confrontation with the Romulans? And I'm like, you shouldn't take all those families to the neutral zone.
No.
But there they are.
I know.
So, it's like a lot of stuff makes no sense when you think that they had that capability. But, I like that they use it here. I think it was a worthy, a worthwhile reason. But just the fact there's lots of other worthwhile reasons down the road they don't use it makes no sense. But
I can do it, Commander. How? Jump. Data, it's over 10 meters. 11.75, sir.
Be my guest.
Data jumps.
Well, I mean, there's not much to say about it. He he definitely that was a jump. It was a great jump.
It was a great jump. I thought it was. I like that every time that, like, every once in a while they have like it's like Data's a superhero, and then they have to show like he can do. He's like Inspector Gadget, and then you have to see like an ability. So it's like either he can mimic voices or like he opens his head. And I just watched Disaster where they took off his head and they just were transporting his head around. And in this episode he gets to jump a really high distance and like land. I thought it was
do you
cool.
think he could have sort of, taken Picard and, cradled him in his arms and then jumped out of there?
It's like Astro Boy.
Yeah.
I feel like they didn't do it because they couldn't afford to do it, but if they remade The Next Generation now, they would totally do that.
Yeah.
Well, the key word I'd like to talk about with Data is Data throws. Data throws Yar across the jungle there, and I'm like, man, did he just break every bone in her body, because he just throws her really hard across?
I blinked at that moment, and I was like, what just happened there? All you see is like Yar flying through the air, and then Data flying after her. I was like, did they practice that? You know.
I was like, he could just like held his body over her to protect her. You know, he's a robot or whatever.
No,
he just like throws her. I think he'd rather get shot with an energy beam than be thrown into a tree.
I think I blinked too, because I remember, or I turned away or something, and they turned back, and I'm like, oh, there's that Data stuntman again from Encounter at Farpoint. But then I was like, what just happened? I feel like somebody just went flying across the screen.
Yeah. I feel like they would have to like practice that every Friday on the holodeck to make it actually work in real life. You know, like just in case, Data has to be able to throw Tasha Yar.
Well, imagine there's like a lineup of people on Fridays. It's called the Data Toss. They all get a little tipsy, and they just like, woo.
Data's like, this could come in handy someday. Woo. Oh, so wait, was Riker underneath Tasha just in case?
Namir is too clever with his humor. It takes like a couple wheels, turning, you know, like, oh, Namir
two turns of the wheel.
Namir is funny once you think about it.
Yeah, exactly. 10 seconds later.
Oh wait, okay. I need to tell you a story. 10 seconds later. I don't know if I told you guys the story. Did I tell you I must have told you the Lethal Weapon 3 joke that took me a year to get. So in Lethal Weapon 3, so there's a line where Joe Pesci gets sent to the hospital for a bullet wound, and Mel Gibson writes on his chart for him to get a rectal exam. And so when they come and pick him up a couple days later, Joe Pesci's complaining, and he's like, where does it say that a bullet wound requires a rectal exam with a telescope big enough to see Venus? And then Mel Gibson says, I guess all they saw was Uranus. And
oh my god!
when that movie first came out in 1992, I saw the movie, and I go, oh, that's funny, because he says one planet, which is closer, and the other planet, which is further away, so it must have been a really big telescope. And then about a year later, I'm sitting on the bus, and I'm replaying the scene in my head, and then I hear him say, I guess it was big enough all they saw was Uranus. And I was like, oh, it's an ass joke. And then I just I lost it in the bus.
Did you stand up in the middle of the bus and go, Uranus! Uranus!
Well,
that's so
and then
sad.
Somebody's like, it's Uranus.
Uranus. Okay.
Uranus.
Okay. Nobody cares about data jumping. I thought it was a really cool moment. The Enterprise in the atmosphere. What do you guys think about that little tactic?
Scan for any air disruption or vortex. Cloak or no cloak will spot it by its turbulence. Worf, how fast can you get a phaser lock?
Fast.
Hull temperature 1,000 degrees and rising.
Emergency power to deflectors. Velocity increasing. Steady as she goes. There he is!
Scanners locked.
Weapons locked.
Fire!
I was confused about why, because that scene was after Picard decided to buy it and then shut it off, and then
yes.
the drones disappeared, but the one in orbit didn't disappear, and I'm like, what? This should solve Joey's problem. It should just go. They're like, but no, it's still there attacking them, and it was very weird. But it made for a cool little scene.
Yeah,
they're battling in the atmosphere.
It was like a weird thing where they needed to edit it differently so that and it's almost like they had written it one way, and then the first writer was like, "But I had that really cool thing in the atmosphere." I was like, "Oh, we'll just keep that in."
Yeah, but you're right. It's strange. They could have just kind of like whoop, moved that over a little bit earlier, and it would have been fine.
Yeah. Weird.
Does I feel like I've seen that somewhere else? Is that something they do in the Orville too, where they go into the atmosphere so they can see like an invisible ship, like a cloaked shuttle or something?
I feel like it's probably like a Voyager or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely been used a couple times. I think they did an Equinox too. Wasn't there an atmospheric battle in that between Voyager and Equinox?
It's been so long.
Lost in the Delta. That guy who has lyrics? Oh my god, it's terrible.
Voyager, Voyager, please come home. Have you watched that, Namir?
I have not.
Oh,
you're missing.
man,
You talk
terrible.
about me not knowing pop culture and missing out. You've missed out, my friend. You've missed
I don't
out.
think that's mainstream pop culture. Yeah.
It's funny, there's a whole generation where Voyager is like, you know, everybody hated Voyager when it was originally on, but now there's a whole generation that's like, Voyager is their Star Trek. And I love that. Because it is a good show, and it didn't get as much love as it should have. Where everybody's just like, high on Next Generation, and then they said, fuck Voyager, I want more Next Generation.
Well, you know, I actually started watching DS9. I started watching the first episode.
Oh, did you start going down my list?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna go down your list. I'm gonna do it. But you know, the funniest thing about Deep Space Nine is the opening, is like the credit sequence, because it's a station, but they try to make it look dynamic by having all these like camera shots that are moving around it, but it's not going anywhere. It's just like it's
well,
still.
They realized that by
stable.
season 4 when they added all the ships like docked there and flying around it, so it looked like more of a busy, interesting place rather than just a thing in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, the camera's like, ooh, you're like, it's not moving, guys. The station's still there.
You know, I realized what that song was. The DS Space Nine. It goes do 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 do. And a few months ago, I was going like, I'm gonna make a Star Trek sounding song, and I went, okay, so how is it, so the Star Trek fanfare is do 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 do. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna riff on it, and I'm gonna move around, and then I did it, and it went. I'm like, oh, this is what they did. They just stole the Star Trek theme. Yeah.
Rearranged it, yep.
It just goes to show that I'm still not a very clever composer. I always think I'm going to come up with something really amazing. Every time I come up with something amazing, I'm like, I probably like 1,000 music students have already composed this song.
Fire! Now! Traces of photons firing. We missed!
Little piece of trivia. Going back to the episode, Arsenal of Freedom. Little piece of trivia. This is the first time that we see Worf at the security station.
Tactical.
A tactical. Okay, nobody has anything to say about it. There's also a mention of Beverly's grandmother, which.
I mean, honestly, what do you want us to say about it?
Anything, really, anything would be fine.
Is it foreshadowing that he's going to take over from Yar in a couple episodes?
Yeah.
A setup for the sex candle episode.
I agree.
The family candle ghost made her go to medical school, and Beverly too.
I know. I can't wait to get to this episode.
Oh
what
boys.
is it? Season 5.
Season 7. That's season 7.
And they're running out of steam.
We should just watch it anyway ahead of time. But how did she know that route was what it was? Because they're on an alien planet.
Well, I assume is that how like indigenous peoples or like, you know, primitive cultures would find out if something had a medicinal value, like the taste, texture. Is that a proven method of gathering that kind of info?
I feel like it was a thing that the writer researched, because it was very specific. Like, taste the root. Now put it on your skin. Is it discolored? And I was just like, wow, this is a lot of information. I wonder if this is all true or is it totally made up.
And I didn't care enough about the answer to actually look it up, so I guess it didn't matter. I guess it didn't matter to me.
I think that's an interesting idea, right? Like if, and we don't have to talk about this too much longer, but if everybody, all the races come from, all the species of people come from one species, then maybe that's the case for vegetation and like animals, right? So maybe that's why, planets have similar vegetation. So Crusher can be like, oh, that looks familiar. I think it's this, and it's probably got these properties. I mean, I can buy that.
And that was one of the original concepts in the original series anyway, was like the parallel Earth concept, where that's how they explained other people look, how the planets look like Earth, how the people look like humans, cultures might have evolved in a similar manner. Again, it's like a oxygen, nitrogen atmosphere, or carbon-based life. Maybe they get the same type of trees and plants and animals.
It's what explained that they were limited to backlots and only 5 studios in Los Angeles, and that's what they had to work with. So, the killer probes. Pew, 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 pew.
I liked them. I thought they were cool. I know they're just a spray painted plastic toys and their packaging or whatever, but
I liked it. The first time I watched it, I didn't like the design. Like I thought they were kind of cheesy. But the second time around, it kind of grew on me. It felt like it was pretty alien, but it also felt kind of dangerous. I liked the way they moved. They floated, and they kind of like it felt like they were stalking you. So. Yeah, I liked it. I didn't have a problem with it. I thought it was great.
What was interesting about that, as you mentioned, Namir, is that the space probe was made by what was it? A shampoo bottle?
It was like it was weird. It was like a shampoo bottle and some like nylon or something, like nylons.
But the other part of it that was funny is that the way they made it move around is that the guy who built it, he just like put himself into like a green screen suit, and he kind of like he just puppeted it around like this.
Did they really?
Yeah, and he said that he was able to do smooth movements. He was able to do smooth movements because he was a student, a Tai Chi student. So he was used to.
Oh, slow, smooth.
Yeah.
Movements like he was an 80-year-old man from Asia. Oh, you want to hear something funny? I met a guy today that grew up with Tom Cruise.
Can you be more specific?
Yeah, so my kids, Amelia had her birthday party today, and one of the dads is from Ottawa, and apparently he grew up with Tom Cruise when Tom Cruise used to live in Ottawa.
Mm-hmm. That's the one thing. That's the one thing that I have in common with Tom Cruise, is that we both live in Ottawa.
Yeah. So he was like,
and your good looks.
He knew. Yeah, and your affiliation with Scientology.
and my short stature. and goofy demeanor.
And goofy demeanor. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Yeah, wow, that's like the best Tom Cruise
more like
impression
Conan O'Brien than Tom Cruise.
They're very similar. Anyway, so he was like, yeah, I knew little Tommy Mapother. Apparently his real name is Mapother.
Yes, Thomas Mapother III.
I had no idea.
That really doesn't roll off the tongue as much as Tom Cruise. He did good to change it.
The last thing I want to talk about is I thought that the supporting cast was awesome. I liked Ensign Sue.
Yeah, Sue and Solus.
I was kind of like, I was sad and then they never came back.
Yeah, it's the girl at Babylon 5.
Oh, what did she do in Babylon 5?
She was like the original first officer in their first pilot.
Oh, really?
Then they replaced her with Claudia Christensen.
Oh.
But yeah, I agree. I really liked. I liked how they had brand new characters, in the episode. That's always fun, especially when they do really well. And I like when they bring them back. So I'm disappointed to hear she doesn't come back.
Yeah, the actress comes back in Deep Space Nine, but plays a different character. But she doesn't. That character doesn't come back, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, that's strange.
Yeah. They have a bunch of interesting characters like that come. But it's funny because they have characters like Ensign McKnight, who's like pretty boring, and she's like in I don't know how many episodes. Remember those Ensign Gates and Ensign McKnight? They're just like random ensigns at the con.
They're the Charlie Burke of Next Generation, just a blonde girl at the helm.
Is that Ensign Gates or is that Ensign McKnight? I forget.
I don't know which one's which.
Right. I don't know. I guess we'll find out when we get there. There'll be lots of time to like ponder these questions.
There's lots. Yeah. There's lots of post Wesley rotating helms people.
And this is like Chief Engineer number 4, right?
3.
3?
There's
who do we have?
There's your number 1 crush, Engineer
McDougal.
Oh, McDougal. That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, McDougal.
McDougal.
I heart McDougal.
Yeah.
There's
feel all warm and fuzzy.
There was also Chief Engineer Singh, who was like the first casualty in Lonely Among Us.
Yes, that's right. So
I don't think
he was the first death.
No, he was not a chief engineer. He was just engineer.
Oh, he was just an engineer.
Yeah.
I thought they mentioned that he was a chief engineer.
No.
At least assistant.
And then Argyle, you have Argyle in 2 episodes.
Argyle.
Yeah.
And then you got this guy. This
and
is the guy.
Then we have Leland T. Lynch later on.
We can't wait to Leland T. Lynch. Okay, so let's do our ratings.
Okay. I'm gonna give it 3.5 starships out of 5 starships, which I guess equals 7 starships out of a 10 starship rating. But we're doing 5 starships, so it's 3.5 starships out of 5 starships. I liked it. I thought it was a great episode. I really enjoyed it. I like that it had 3. We didn't talk about this, but I like that it had 3 really distinct storylines. Is somebody possessed? Is like
what happened?
Somebody hungry?
What happened?
There's like a weird.
There's a grumbly noise.
There's a weird sound, like when you play, like you take like a hard rock record, and then play it backwards, and it's worship the devil.
It was a motorcycle outside that went by.
Oh,
but I didn't. I mean, I hear them all the time.
That's
so
less interesting.
I was like, what are you reacting to?
Oh, okay, all right. I don't even. Oh, okay, yeah. So I like that there were 3 storylines. I like Geordi in command. That was a lot of fun. I like the premise, and everyone seemed to have enough to do, which was great. Everybody had moments. Even Tasha Yar, which was fantastic. So yeah, it's good episode. And I think they. Sorry, I just remembered. I think they. They based it on what was happening during that time, and I guess that there was like the Iran-Contra affair, and I guess the states had sold like a ton of like fighters to fighter planes to Iran at the time. So it was interesting that this may have been a commentary on that.
Interesting. I did not know that.
If you think.
Okay, Alan.
I also give this one 3.5 starships out of 5. Since again I had a 7 and a 10 in my head before I started. So, do the math. No, I like it for all the same reasons I've already mentioned. It was a good, fast-paced hour for me, like compared to some of the first season offerings. And Geordi, there's some great Geordi moments. And like Namir just mentioned that we didn't mention before, like Tasha Yar actually had like security type things to do in this episode where it seemed like she was actually doing her job. It wasn't just saying hailing frequencies open in the background or shields up. So, it was nice to see Tasha Yar in action because I think this is the first time we've really seen her in action since like tussling with the Ferengi there in the last outpost. But so yeah, I enjoyed this one. This is probably one of my more, one of the ones I go back to more in the first season than others. So I like this one. So 3.5 starships out of 5.
I also give this 3.5 starships after 5.
Oh man, I think we should keep that. To be honest, I don't think you need to do that again. You're good. This is a good one. So one take.
Yeah, one take. Roll credits.
Just where in the future the things we've done and said. Let's just